This is the morning, still the morning of the 13th of November. This clip plays for, I think, 14 minutes. Put up by Sammy Snails. Trump faces total meltdown after Epstein brother exposes Trump underage. By Rick Wilson. Let's have a listen.
If you thought the Epstein story had peaked, think again, because it just detonated. Jeffrey Epstein's brother dropped a bombshell today. New evidence, new images, new details that hit Donald Trump right where it hurts. And yeah, he's furious. He knows this isn't going away. It's getting bigger, louder, and closer to home. And here's the thing, this isn't just another round of rumors. This is real material. Emails, documents, a single photograph that's now ricocheting through the internet and shredding what little credibility Trump still had left. It's the kind of image that forces people, even his allies, to look twice and start asking questions they've avoided for years. But before we dive into that new batch of damning evidence, we need to start with the other seismic news of the day. Adelita Grijalva has officially been sworn in, becoming the 218th signature on the discharge petition to force the release of the Epstein files. Her speech today? Devastating, brave, the kind of moment that makes history. Trump's allies are panicking because Grijalva's move didn't just make this real, it made it unstoppable. She called out the cowardice, the silence, and the complicity that have kept these files sealed. And now, with that 218th signature, there's no procedural shield left for Trump or for anyone he's trying to protect. The floodgates are about to open.
And while we celebrate this moment today, our American promise is under serious threat. Basic freedoms are under attack. Healthcare premiums are skyrocketing. Babies are being ripped away from their parents by masked agents. We can and must do better. What is most concerning is not what this administration has done, but what the majority in this body has failed to do. Hold Trump accountable as a co-equal branch of government that we are. It has been 50 days since the people of Arizona's 7th Congressional District elected me to represent them. 50 days that over 800,000 Arizonans have been left without access to the basic services that every constituent deserves. This is an abuse of power. One individual should not be able to unilaterally obstruct the swearing in of a duly elected member of Congress for political reasons. Our democracy only works when everyone has a voice. This includes the millions of people across the country who have experienced violence and exploitation, including Liz Stein and Jessica Michaels, both survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's abuse. They are here in the gallery with us this evening. Thank you for being here. Just this morning, House Democrats released more emails showing that Trump knew more about Epstein's abuses than he previously acknowledged. It's past time for Congress to restore its role as a check and balance on this administration and fight for we, the American people.
Donald Trump's running out of runway and out of places to hide. The Epstein emails that dropped this morning, they're not speculation. They're not rumor. They're evidence. Cold, ugly, undeniable evidence that Trump wasn't just in the room, he was part of the ecosystem. He knew what was happening. He saw the victims. He stayed silent. And Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell knew that silence was leverage. That's what makes today's revelation so explosive. These emails read like blackmail insurance. Epstein and Maxwell openly discussing Trump's awareness, mocking his cowardice, hinting that they could remind him of what he'd seen if he ever tried to turn on them. It's not just guilt by association anymore. It's complicity by silence, and they all knew it. But the real gut punch came from Epstein's brother. He released an image, one he says he'd sent directly to Jeffrey, showing Trump in a setting that, when paired with the context we now have from the emails, makes your stomach drop. It's not explicit, it's suggestive. Damningly so. The kind of image that makes the subtext of those messages impossible to ignore. MSNBC laid it out with brutal clarity tonight, connecting the dots that Trump's team has spent years trying to bury. And when you see the timeline, the proximity, the people involved, it becomes painfully clear why Trump's panicking. This isn't just a scandal anymore. It's an indictment of character, morality, and power abuse, and it's all unraveling in real time.
Person we were just talking about, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark Epstein. We just put up the meme that Mark Epstein sent to Jeffrey Epstein, a picture. Let me put it up one more time. This is Donald Trump's face, and it says, "Would you trust this man with your daughter?" There it is. You just spoke with the man who sent that meme to his brother. What did he say today?
Right. I'll actually be honest. I completely missed the segment because I was on the phone with him.
That's good.
Just got up from off the street here. And I think we should be very clear here. Mark Epstein is somebody who has said that he is known for decades now that his brother had a deep, close friendship with with Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. And he said, the way that he put it to me, when are people going to admit to themselves, this guy, President Trump, is so full of every time he opens his mouth. He says he wanted to deny, it maybe does. He wanted to deny that he had a relationship or a friendship with Donald Trump. As Mark tells me, back in 1999, he was on the plane when they were having intimate conversation about women on a flight from Palm Beach, Florida, back up here to New York. He goes, he talked to his brother, as somebody who he still cares deeply about even after his passing. And he says, at what point is there going to be a reckoning that Donald Trump just makes up stuff? And the number two part is that he's been very clear, this is outside of the scope of what we're talking about today, but he wants a full investigation into the death of his brother, saying he doesn't believe anybody at this point anymore. He said he did sit down, he just told me, with the House Oversight Committee here this summer. I said, did they call and ask you to come in and speak? He goes, no, I requested to. And he said he went into detail with staff trying to get them, to compel them to go even further beyond just the relationship between Donald Trump and other men that were a part of this cabal, and to really get at the fact of why did people want Jeffrey Epstein gone. This also goes to a conversation I had with Mark over the summer when he told me that Steve Bannon had 15 hours of footage of him interviewing Jeffrey Epstein. We have not seen that footage. And I think it's also worth noting that Michael Wolff has said that he has up to 100 hours of audio recordings with Jeffrey Epstein. We have not heard those audio recordings from either of the men. And that is what hits at the heart that Mark Epstein is so frustrated by, that the public, including him as the brother, do not have a full understanding of what the Department of Justice has, or frankly, what either of these two other men have.
I didn't tell him.
I think Trump's toast. I think he knows it.
Trust this man with your daughter. Not your adult daughter, not your 2 5-year-old daughter with a job and a life. No, the daughter who's a child. The daughter in braces. The daughter who's still figuring out who she is. Because that's who Donald Trump was talking about when he looked at a teenage girl and said, I'll be dating her in 10 years. That's who he was talking about. And that's who he was around the pageant girls, the teenagers, the ones Epstein collected and paraded through Mar-a-Lago like trophies. That's the image we're looking at today. That's the reality. That's what Epstein's brother just made public. And that image tells you everything you need to know. Because it wasn't subtle. It wasn't hidden. It was a joke to them, a running bit between predators. The wink and nod club of powerful men who thought the rules didn't apply to them. Trump was always the loudest one laughing, and that laughter covered up the truth. He wasn't disgusted by what Epstein did. He was fascinated by it. He admired it. He wanted to be a part of it. And now, hearing Epstein's brother describe what actually happened, how Jeffrey was the one who eventually walked away from Trump, makes it even more twisted. Epstein saw Trump for what he was, a fraud, a small-time criminal pretending to be a king. Epstein thought he was the dangerous one. But even he knew Trump was radioactive. Imagine that. Imagine being so repulsive, so transparently self-serving, that Jeffrey Epstein decides you're bad company. That's not rehabilitation. That's revulsion. But what really ties it all together are the new details from those internal communications. We're talking about 2015, before Trump launched his campaign. That's when Epstein's inner circle, including Michael Wolff, were already emailing about how Trump's involvement could be used against him. One email flat out referenced Trump's knowledge of the victims and how it could be leverage if he ever turns. Think about that. They knew he'd seen it, and they knew he'd stayed silent. And that silence is what Donald Trump tried to cover up on the campaign trail in 2016 when he suddenly decided to start talking about Bill Clinton and Epstein. Remember that line? There's going to be some problems with Bill Clinton and his friend Epstein. He said it because he knew the same could be said about him. He wanted to preempt it, deflect it, push it off on someone else before it landed on him. And now, all these years later, it's landing exactly where it belongs. It's interesting that Trump is suddenly circling back to this like he's been stewing on it, watching the walls close in, trying to get ahead of something he knows is coming. You can see it in how he posts, how he talks, how desperate the spin has become, and it's all gotten clearer now. The Epstein scandal isn't some sidebar. It's the central artery running through his corruption, his connections, his fear, and the worst thing we could do right now is let up. We should be talking about this constantly. Every show, every headline, every conversation, Epstein, the files, the cover-up, the silence, the money, because we already know what's in those documents. We know the scope, we know the relationships, and we know how damning it all is to Trump personally. But there's more. There's always more. The real story isn't just on the page, it's in the testimonies that haven't been taken yet, in the tapes that haven't surfaced, in the witnesses who are still being protected. That's where the next layer of this scandal lives. Epstein's brother, for one, needs to be called to testify. He's sitting on receipts, literal and figurative. If those tapes exist, we need them. We need Congress, the press, anyone with power to push until they're out in the open. Because the longer this stays in the dark, the more it festers. And that follow the money angle, that's everything. It's not just names on a list, it's transactions, favors, hush payments, real estate deals, charity fronts. You trace the cash flow, and you'll see exactly how deep the rot goes. Which is why Kash Patel's claim that Epstein was the only one involved might be the most revealing thing anyone said yet. Because when someone like Patel rushes to isolate the blame to pretend there's no network, no operation, no accomplices, that's not exoneration. That's damage control. It's an accidental confession that there is more and that Trump's fingerprints are all over it. So, yeah, we keep pushing, we stay on this story, we don't let up just because Trump's screaming about distractions or trying to bait the media with some other outrage. This is the pressure point. And we're not the only ones who know it. AOC clearly does too. She's been one of the few actually connecting the dots, not just between Trump and Epstein, but between the corruption, the shutdown, and the way power protects itself. She said it better than anyone else could right here.
What do you think it shows you about what we know about Trump's relationship with Epstein?
Well, I think we've been seeing Republicans have been trying to deflect and imply that, even House Speaker Mike Johnson had insinuated a couple months ago that Trump was on some kind of secret mission. I think what these emails demonstrate is precisely why House Republicans have been trying to block the release of the Epstein files for months now. I think it illustrates in a very damning way, and I think it also implicates House Speaker Mike Johnson as well. Experience.
Ad just popped up. I'll get rid of it.
This is absolutely not the moment to take our foot off the gas, and if Democrats have half a political instinct left, they'd know this is exactly when you lean in. Because right now, the only people actually driving the narrative, the only ones applying pressure, the only ones refusing to get hypnotized by the Beltway's sleepy little both sides lullaby are the independents, the YouTubers, the streamers, the Substackers, the folks who aren't owned by corporate ad buys, pharma dollars, oil money, or APAC checks. And let's be honest, if you're an independent media personality who just regurgitates whatever the corporate wing of the party whispers into your DMs, if you're polishing Chuck Schumer's shoes while pretending to be a rebel, If you never criticize the crypto-funded Dems or the ones taking fossil fuel money or the ones bending their knee to the Israel lobby, congratulations. You're not independent media. You're just MSNBC with fewer stage lights.
You know, what's amazing is that nobody's twigging in on the DNA aspect that I've spoken about in countless videos. Trump's DNA is all over those cards, or that card, that birthday card of Epstein's. And that'll pretty much seal his fate. But I think his fate's already sealed. I wouldn't be too surprised if he committed suicide. And J.D. Vance will be the next president. That's not a good deal for the American people, but it is what it is. He won't stay in power. In 228, Gavin Newsom will become president. You think not? Well, I probably won't see, but you will. And you'll remember what I had said. Pass it along, and thanks for listening.